Afternoon.
Yes. So, Mr. Hambote, welcome, and thank you for accepting the invitation. You'll be speaking to a group of resident doctors. So I can see that we are about 26 participants. So I think some more might join. However, this meeting will be recorded. And for those who've joined, thank you very much. We'll listen to Mr. Paul Hambote. He's the Acting Director, Business Development of the Public Service Microfinance Company. I'm sure he will give a bit more detail in terms of introduction, because he'll take us through this presentation. So the idea is that this presentation is going to be about 20 to 30 minutes, after which we will allow questions from the other participants. So the way we will do that is, if you have a question, you can either type it in the chat box, or you can raise your hand, and then we'll be able to call upon you. As I've said, this meeting will be recorded, and we'll be able to share the recording later. Thank you very much. Mr. Hambote, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. As introduced, my name is Paul Hambote. It's the first time I'm doing a presentation online. I'm normally in a conference room, standing. I'm used to standing in front of people, so this feels a little bit weird. But I'll do my best.
All right, thank you.
I'll do my best. Yeah. I have a screen that I've shared with you. I hope you can see it. Those of you that have are able to see it can see it.
Yes.
Basically, I prepared a few slides that talk about who we are as a company and also the products that we have on offer. So to start with, we are basically a government-owned institution, wholly owned by the government, with shares held by the Ministry of Finance, between the Minister of Finance, who holds 95% shares, and the Secretary of Treasury, who holds 5% shares on behalf of government, not in their personal capacity. We were established in 2013 with a primary mandate to provide affordable financial services to public service workers. And in 2013, we started with the one product, which we still have, and we're calling this the personal loan product. So basically, you're looking at 5 products that we have in terms of our product offering. We have the personal loan that I just briefly mentioned. We have the short-term cash solution. We have the public service motor vehicle loan scheme. And then we also have the public service agricultural asset loan scheme. And then more recently, we launched the public service bring your own device loan scheme. And I will elaborate more on the last product. I'll start with the personal loan. On the personal loan, like I mentioned, this is our flagship product. We started with this product from 2013, and it's an unsecured loan. We currently are paying up to a maximum of 50,000 kwacha, and the loan tenor runs from 6 months to 60 months. And this loan, together with all other loans, are recovered through payroll. Now, you will note that even in the last sentence there, the interest rate is reasonably low at 5%. And as such, this particular loan is highly on demand. And I know a few of you may have even attempted to get this loan. Probably some of you have been lucky enough to have gotten it, or fortunate enough to have gotten it. We do have a bit of a challenge in terms of access to this particular loan, based on the fact that the interest rate is extremely attractive at 5%. As such, we have so many applications that we have received over the time, and we've not been able to pay out. Basically, we're dealing with a very small pot of funds that is available to us, and this small pot has to be shared with the over 200,000 public service workers that are on the payroll currently. So you can imagine the challenges that we have in terms of meeting that demand. And that is one of the reasons why we limited the value to 50,000 kwacha. In terms of eligibility, it is open to any public service worker who has served for a minimum of 2 years and has a net take home of not less than 40% of their basic salary. So this is in line with government directive that we cannot go below the 40% debt service ratio as stipulated by government currently. This is meant to protect all public service workers against exploitation, and again, also to ensure that they have a bit of funds that remain for their day-to-day expenses and also managing their homes and such. The next product that I'll talk about is what we call the short-term cash solution. Now, we introduced this product based on the demands that were realized from the personal loan and the fact that we couldn't meet those demands. So we said, could we then introduce a product that could mitigate the immediate demand for mid-term financing or short-term financing for our public service workers? And as such, we introduced the short-term cash solution loan. This is basically kind of an emergency loan where like now when schools are opening, we have a lot of officers who have come through and they need to pay their fees. They've come through, we've been able to pay them their loans within 48 hours as stipulated here. We approve the loans, process them and pay them directly to the client's account within 48 hours. So basically these are emergency loans. In terms of the range of on the product, in terms of the amounts, we pay anything from 500 kwacha to 150,000 kwacha. And again, this goes to the capacity of the client to pay back. What can their payslip carry? So you can get anything from 500 kwacha to 150,000 kwacha. The tenor for this loan is 6 months, hence the name short term. And like I mentioned, we approve and disperse these loans or these funds within 48 hours of receipt of an application. Of course, this is not cast in concrete, but we endeavor to achieve 48-hour turnaround time. Depending on the number of applications, it can go up to about 7 days or so. But within 48 hours to 7 days, we are able to pay this particular loan. And again, like mentioned earlier, all these loans are recovered through payroll. We still follow the 40% debt service ratio. And the interest rate on this loan is 10% of the amount you borrow. 10% of the amount you borrow. So if you borrow a 10,000 kwacha, then at the end of the 6-month period, you will have paid us back an extra 1,000 kwacha on top. So that's 10% of the amount that you borrow. The next particular product is the Public Service Motor Vehicle Loan Scheme. Now, this is a product that was developed based on government's vision or desire to save money, minimize cost in terms of running government. And so they realized in 2015, late of 2015, that they were spending a lot in procurement of personal to order vehicles for officers that were entitled to such vehicles. And even the cost of maintenance of the vehicles, fuel for the vehicles was extremely high. And so when they noted that, they then mandated us to develop a product that would allow for public service workers to procure good quality vehicles that could then be used for both official assignments and personal assignments. And what the government did is that they also put in an incentive, and that incentive is a waiver on duty. So essentially you could say the vehicles we finance are duty free, but technically the correct phrase is they have a waiver on duty. And by waiver, what I mean is that for 5 years, for the duration of 5 years, one is not expected to pay duty on that vehicle, so long as the registration of the vehicle remains under the Ministry of Works and Supply. The vehicle will not attract any duty to be paid on it. And as such, this vehicle is available for any public service worker who's on a payment payroll, again, with a net take home of 40% or more. Types of vehicles that we finance, like I mentioned, they're brand new vehicles. And for us, we're very clear on what a brand new vehicle is. And this is a 0 mileage vehicle. We do not, under any circumstance, finance a .com or a vehicle that is brought in from South Africa by an individual briefcase businessman or anything like that. We absolutely do not finance such vehicles. What we have done is we have signages with essentially all the vehicle dealers that are present in Zambia. So you can think of any, Toyota Zambia, we have them on board, Action Auto, Pilatus, Alliance Motors, whichever type of vehicles you're looking at, we have them. Again, government did stress that we can only finance vehicles that are meant for official assignments or can be used for official assignments as well as personal use. And as such, because of the fact that they have waived duty, essentially what they're saying is that they have contributed a component of the purchase price of the vehicle, which is that part of the duty. And as such, they have stipulated the types of vehicles that one can procure. And these are basically the 4x4s, the 4x2s, the single cabs, and such vehicles. We are not allowed to finance any commercial classified vehicles. And by commercial classified vehicles, I'm referring to the buses and the trucks. So those ones, unfortunately, we do not finance. In terms of the maximum loan that one can apply, again, this is dependent on one's ability to meet the monthly recovery. So we'll basically look at your payslip and then determine your 40% debt service ratio, and we'll be able to project how much one can qualify. So it really depends on your payslip. That's what would determine the maximum that can be paid on a loan. So we don't have any limit whatsoever. It's all dependent on your payslip. We do, however, offer also various financing options. Options such as, firstly, let me be straight, let me be very clear. We do not demand for any advance payment whatsoever. There's no down payment that is required. Much as I put down payments there, the down payment is an option that you can take if you so wish. So the idea is, for instance, that you would have a quotation from a dealership of 300,000 kwacha, but you do not want to access the entire 300,000 kwacha from us. Instead, you have 100,000 kwacha in cash. You can then make that as a down payment towards the vehicle. Otherwise, we do not ask you to make any advance or down payment against the vehicle. We 100% finance the vehicles ourselves without seeking any down payments from the clients. So those are the kind of options that we give our clients. We also do allow for joint applications. On the motor vehicle particularly, we allow for joint application in form of spouses coming together and saying they want to acquire one vehicle, which they will jointly finance. And this works out in a case where the vehicle price is out of one individual's reach, but if they put their combined income together, they will then be able to procure the vehicle of their choice. So the tenor on these loans is 60 months. That's the maximum tenor. But again, it depends on what you want. So if you want to run it for 6 months, that's fine. But we'll give you up to 60 months to pay back the loan on this particular product. Again, we also pay for the vehicle directly to the dealership. We do not give the client the money. It's paid upfront to the dealership. The dealership handles everything related to the registration of the vehicle. We'll also give you 1 year's comprehensive cover on the vehicle. And we'll also give you credit life for the value of the vehicle for the duration of the loan. And this is a one-off. All these are costs that are factored into the loan. And those are the only additional costs that you will have. Purchase price on the vehicle, insurance, general motor insurance, as well as credit life. These are the only things that are added onto your loan. And then we apply an interest rate of 18% per annum, which is amortized. 18% per annum, and this is amortized. In terms of usage of the vehicle, you are allowed to use these vehicles for whatever purpose you so wish and at whatever times for personal use. So regardless of whether you are building, you can carry your building materials in there. No one will hassle you. In terms of the registration, of course, by virtue of it being a duty waived vehicle, it is registered under the Ministry of Works and Supply. So it will have a red book, but it will carry a private number plate. So it will have a private number plate. So if you want to go anywhere within the country, there is no one who will hassle you about the vehicle. No one will come and ask you for permission to have driven the vehicle outside the district. No, the only time you need is when you're and request us to facilitate for clearance with the ministry as well as with Interpol. Otherwise, when you get to the border, they will not allow you to drive out of the country with your car. So basically, that's what our move agricultural asset loan scheme. Basically, under this program, we introduced in response to the government's desire to diversify the number of our public service work agricultural sector, and we go in and see how we can assist them, essentially in mechanization of their many activities on the agriculture. Basically, are financing acquisition of essentially all agricultural assets. Talk about tractors, hammer mills, chicken runs, pond liners, anything that is agriculture related, able to finance it. It equally runs for a duration of 60 months that we work after sales support, 18% per annum. In terms of joint applications on this particular product, to jointly finance might be, a group of doctors that might almost 2 million kwacha. So if you split that among 4, you might find that 500,000 kwacha is manageable per client or per doctor who might want to then jointly finance that single combine harvester. And so that comes in handy when you're looking at such big assets. However, I must stress, when it comes to joint applications on the agro, we're very clear that if one of you defaults, then all of you have defaulted. And so we expect it that whichever group of 4 comes together, they take it upon themselves to ensure that all of them are paying. That's basically it on the agro product. Basically, the next slide just talks about the type of products that we offer. Like I mentioned, you have your tractors with its implements, you have your hammer mills, even the walking tractor is there. You have the chicken cages, irrigation equipment. More recently, we also signed a company that offers greenhouses, for those of you that might want to venture into greenhouses. But this is just an idea of the type of products that we offer. There's a multitude of them. And at times, we do get clients who come forward and say, I'm looking for this product. This is the company that is offering it. If we don't have it among any of the companies that we are working with, we'll engage that company that has it, and we'll see if we can sign them on and begin to finance with them. The Bring Your Own Device product is a very recent product that we introduced. Essentially, I would say it's basically about 2 weeks old. It's still in its pilot phase, so to speak. This is basically in response to the current situation we find ourselves in with COVID-19 and having a number of public service workers being required to work from home remotely. And so we thought it prudent to introduce a product that would allow for these public service workers to acquire devices that would allow them to work from home and connect into the government network. We have been in discussions as well with Smart Zambia Institute. They are very keen to also come on board to facilitate essentially on the connectivity end to allow for public service workers to connect into the government network. And that way they would be able to then access the data and also do some normal works that would be required of them. And it's a very interesting product. Well, I've been running it for the last 2 weeks or so, and I've been impressed with the type of response I've gotten, even especially that the response is coming from the remote areas, which is quite impressive. I was expecting to get a lot more interest from within Lusaka, but strangely, I'm getting a lot more feedback from the remote areas of the country. So basically on this product, again, there's no limit on the maximum that one can borrow. There's no limit on the type of devices or even on the number of devices that one can acquire. It's purely up to your choice. We have dealers that we have identified, and a few more are coming on board. Again, these are reputable dealers that will offer you warranty on the products and after-sales support. We've given it a starting tenor of 36 months maximum, of 36 months. And again, like all our asset-based products, this is offered at a rate of 18% per annum. So like mentioned below, we have laptops, tablets, and all manner of other devices that one might want to procure for their own use or even for their home use. We are also talking with Zamtel to see if they can come on board as well to assist with connectivity, so that then maybe they could offer their connectivity devices and allow for a number of our offices to then connect onto the network. And of course, insurance will also be built into this product, just like all the other asset-based products that we offer. Basically, I'll end there with the product offering, and I can take questions now, I think.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hambote. I think this was a really good presentation. At least now we know what public service microfinance company is all about and the products they offer. I'm really excited about many of the products, especially the agricultural products, as well as the short-term cash solution. But before I ask my questions, I think I'll find out from the other participants if any has a question following the presentation that has been given. Just if you have a question, you can write it in the chat box, and you can also raise your hand and I'll be able to see that and we'll call upon you. So we have one who's raised the hand, Dr. Chatupa Margaret. Please go ahead, unmute yourself and go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hambote. Thank you so much for this presentation, very informative. So my question is on motor vehicles. I have two questions. You mentioned that you only finance brand new vehicles, but I wanted to find out some companies like Toyota Zambia, for instance. Sorry, excuse me. So some companies like Toyota Zambia also sell used vehicles. Are you able to finance those as well?
Okay, you want me to answer that question first, or allow you to ask the second one as well?
Okay, let me ask the second one as well. Then I also heard something about partners coming together to finance, let's say, vehicle. So if you work at two different institutions and the percentages that you are allowed are different, are you still able to help?
Okay, I'll take the first question on the second-hand units such as Toyota Zambia. Well, currently we do not, but we have noted as well that we are getting to almost the 5-year marker from the time that we launched the product. We have a number of public service workers that have come on board and say they want to trade in their vehicles. And so what we are doing now is to see how best we can then bring on board those vehicles that are dealer approved, as you've rightfully put it, and then see if we can finance them. The biggest challenge we've had with the dealer approved vehicles is that duty on those vehicles has already been paid. And so you would not be getting the full enjoyment of the duty waiver as offered by the product. And this is where we've had a bit of a challenge. But with the trade-in vehicles, those have a duty component that is already waived. And so what we are doing now is to engage with the Ministry of Finance as well as ZRA to see how that duty waiver can be then treated, because the duty waiver applies to both the vehicle and the individual. So you can imagine a 5-year waiver, and in the 3rd year, a client trades in their vehicle. The waiver still applies for 3 years on that, for the remaining 2 years on that vehicle. However, this new client is entitled to a full 5-year waiver on their application or on their facility. So then how do we harmonize these two is the biggest question that we have had, because then we'll be disadvantaging this one public service worker in that they will not enjoy the full 5-year waiver on that vehicle, much as it is cheaper to procure at that point, or would be cheaper to procure at that point. So that is something that we are still in discussions with the Ministry of Finance, particularly Budget Office, as well as ZRA, to see how we can work around it. In terms of the second question on the joint applications, the joint application doesn't matter which institution you're from, so long as both spouses are from public service institutions. So one might be from the mainstream government, such as yourself, a medical doctor. The other one might be working with ZRA, for instance. We will consider the conditions and the terms that we signed with ZRA contained within their MOU based on that debt service ratio, and then also the 40% that comes from government itself. So we do look at both, and we'll assess them individually before we can then bring them on board as a joint application. I hope, Doc, that answers your question.
It has. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Indeed, we are learning quite a lot. I'll allow Dr. Sibanda Novahle. I was expecting that she was going to ask, and I hope it's about agriculture. I'll allow her to ask the question. Sibanda, you can go ahead.
Hi. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Go ahead.
Oh. Okay. Great presentation, Mr. Hambote. It was long overdue, actually, to have this presentation. My question, of course, yes, Dr. Muhuma, it's on agriculture. I just wanted to find out from the companies, what other companies offer this service apart from Camco and Saro? Are there any other companies that would provide this service? I think that's my question.
Okay. We have in total about 16. I'm just trying to pull out the brochure that we have here. We have a total of 16 that we have registered with us to supply agricultural equipment. So in a nutshell, you're basically looking at, like you rightly put it, Camco, Saro, Afgri with their John Deere brand of tractors. We have BHBW, now they're called FES, I believe, next to Toyota Zambia, offering the Massey Ferguson brand of tractors. We also have Sonalika, which is offered under Elegant Automobiles. We also have Farm Truck, brand of tractors, Gromo, Hay Groove, those are the ones that do the greenhouses, Fens in the showgrounds for livestock, livestock handling facilities, so your spray races and the like. We have a company called Fens, found in the showgrounds. We have, I'll be honest, we have been trying to sign on livestock services, but we've had quite a number of challenges dealing with them. I don't know what it is with their cooperative, but they're not too trusting of government departments or government institutions in terms of payments. I think that's what the biggest issue is. But I'll be honest with you, we have not had any problem in terms of payment for asset-based products. If anything, even my CEO always reminds us, and when he's making presentations, he always mentions it, that the dealers actually owe us assets because we pay upfront. We do not give them an order and wait for them to deliver the unit. We pay upfront, and as such, we don't owe any dealer any payment for a vehicle that they have supplied. In any case, they are owing us for non-delivery because they have to order certain items, and those items will take anything from 3 months to 6 months for them to come into the country. So we really don't owe anyone. I can share the brochure. I'm just trying to look for it. Once I find it, I will share both brochures, which carry the motor vehicle and the agro product. That way you'll be able to see the companies that we have signed on.
Thank you very much. Novahle, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you
very much. Thank you so much.
All right. Yes, we'll go to some of the questions in the chat box. I'll start with Dr. Sandra Mulenga's question. First of all, she says, thank you, sir, for the wonderful presentation. So she asks, would you happen to enlighten us on the price range for the vehicles you finance? Also for agri inputs, do you buy the equipment or do you release money equivalent to the price of the equipment applied for? Let's start with that one.
Okay. What we basically do is we finance the equipment. So we leave it up to the client to select and get the quotation for the equipment that they want to procure. They present that quotation together with the application. We'll assess it. If the amount requested is within their qualifying amount, we will release that money to the dealership. So we pay directly to the dealership and then give an instruction to the dealership to release the items to the client. Yeah. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Dr. Mlenga.
Yeah, I think it does. And additionally, also, I guess for Dr. Mlenga, it's really what your payslip can handle. If, for instance, you have another loan maybe running with another institution, and they really have to look at how much your payslip can handle without reaching that 40% of your basic salary. I think that's yes.
Yeah, I see there was also a point on the pricing.
Yes.
It's very difficult for me to actually give pricing, especially now with the way the dollar is moving. Unfortunately, quite a number of the vehicles the pricing has gone up. I will give you off the top of my head, I think the lowest vehicle that we currently have, I can talk in dollar, which is about $8,000, if I'm not mistaken, is the lowest priced vehicle that we have. So right now you're looking at about 160,000 kwacha on that unit. This is a Suzuki Auto. But for the more common vehicles like the Hiluxes and the Ford Rangers and the like, those ones you are currently looking at anything from 650 to about 800,000 kwacha. That would be the price range for such vehicles. Isuzu is a bit on the lower side. I think the last Isuzu that we financed more recently was about 550 or so. That would be the LX300, which is their top of the range. Should have been about 550, 600,000 kwacha. Fully spec'd, of course. You also have the Mazda BT50. It also competes with the Isuzu, also within about that same price bracket.
All right, thank you. So Dr. Webster Chewe is asking, what happens with the waiver of the vehicle after 5 years?
So after 5 years, basically you can then change the ownership on the vehicle. Of course, like I always say, the taxman always has to be paid, regardless of whether they've given you a waiver. So there's a bit of a tax component that kicks in even at the end of the 5-year period. They basically call it a residue tax, but it is not as much as what you would expect to pay in the first year. The waiver, from a financial perspective, works like depreciation. So every year they are knocking off a component of the tax. So if tax was calculated at 100,000 kwacha, payable tax was calculated at 100,000 kwacha, every year they'll be writing off 20,000 kwacha off that vehicle until the last year in the 5th year, they'll write off the final 20,000 kwacha, but they'll still ask you to pay a very minimal amount, what they call residue tax. And I don't have the calculation at the moment, so it's a very difficult thing for me to even estimate what it is. But we've been told it's a very minimal amount that one is expected to pay. And at that point, they can then change ownership on their vehicle.
All right, thank you very much. I think that one's clear. But he also goes ahead and asks, is a tipper truck considered an agriculture vehicle? If you wanted to buy a tipper truck.
Yeah, this is a question that I've always had, and we've always struggled to balance it off, particularly because we have individuals who would want to get a truck under the motor vehicle loan scheme with a waiver on duty, which, like I said, this is a commercial classified vehicle. We cannot finance it there. But under agro, to be honest, we've not had anyone applying for it. And I don't want to put my head on the chopping board and say we can finance it. But I personally, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't. I know we've had others who've come and said they wanted to buy, what do they call it? The backhoe digger and such, earth moving equipment. And under agro, those do qualify because they are used for land preparation and clearing. So we do allow for such.
All right, thank you. Then Dr. David Chilufya asks, and I think that this was going to be one of my questions as well. So what happens to individuals who have acquired a public service loan and change to a non-government job before the loan repayment period expires? But before you answer that question, I think I'm also going to just, tweak this question a little bit. Who is a public service worker?
Yeah.
And then maybe you can go ahead and answer this question.
Okay.
Yes.
So basically, in our definition, a public service worker is a worker that provides service to the public. That's the true definition and the simplest the definition I could give of a public service worker. But I get that you're also setting me up for a trap.
Not really.
Yeah, so to answer this question specifically, what happens to an individual who acquired a loan with PSMFC, more importantly, a motor vehicle loan? Remember, these vehicles have a waiver on duty. Like I mentioned, this is like government saying, I'm giving you this much amount of money as a contribution to procure this vehicle. I expect you to perform government functions during this 5-year period. Now, during that period, you decide to leave government employment and go into private sector. At that point, you are no longer providing service to the government, directly providing service to the government. And as such, therefore, the waiver cannot apply. I speak specifically on the motor vehicle. The waiver then cannot apply, unfortunately. In that situation, we have no choice but to ask that there is full settlement of the loan. Else, we convert and add the component of the duty that is outstanding to your loan, and then we engage you to see how best that amount can then be settled over time, over an agreed period. We are not very harsh to come and repossess the vehicle, no. We are very engaging, we talk with you, we are very flexible, let me put it that way. We are quite flexible. On the other loans, yes, we do expect that they be settled, and our agreement also even with the government is that they can collect for us from your benefits, they can deduct from the benefits and settle the loans as they are sending the final payment schedule, which we have done with quite a number of other officers. And you'll be interested to know that, yes, we do have a number of medical doctors that we had financed vehicles with. They have since left government employment, and they have continued to pay based on the understanding that duty has been added to their vehicle and that they are paying on a regular basis, and they meet their obligation monthly religiously. The key component is you don't miss your payments. You miss your payments, unfortunately, we'll come banging on your door to see how we can collect that money and probably even report you to CRB.
All right, thank you. But so additionally, you said those who've gone into private, yeah, I understand. But we've got colleagues who have also probably gone into the NGOs and are still working in government facilities, okay, providing a service. These are different projects and the like. How do you treat those?
Well, basically those ones would need to notify us, and then we'll assess them from case to case. If the project they've moved to does sufficiently justify that project being a government-related project, then we'll allow the waiver to continue, and we'll allow them to pay through that particular project or NGO that they have joined. And already, like I mentioned, there are quite a number that that are doing that. I do know, and I hope I won't be misquoted or misunderstood. We do have a few that are actually working with CIDRs that have continued to make payments even as they are working with CIDRs because of the kind of support that CIDRs is giving government. I'm not saying you should all go to CIDRs.
No, so this means that, as you gave an example, for those with CIDRs, that means that they can still apply for this product?
No. Those with CIDRs cannot.
Okay.
It
All
must
right.
first be with mainstream government. This would only apply if they are with mainstream government and then they leave. But with CIDRs, no, we do not have an MOU with CIDRs directly now.
All right, thank you. Dr. Sinkondeniza is, I think he's raising a concern. So he's saying, why is the product like a vehicle being under the Ministry of Works and Supply? So, you know, does that mean there's no collateral? It doesn't make sense paying for a product that is registered under a ministry and not the individual paying for it.
Okay, I get your concern, and it's a very valid concern. However, the challenge that we have is that because of the waiver on duty, as a company, as microfinance, we still have to pay tax. And as such, it is not possible for us to then register this vehicle, which has a waiver on tax, and I'll put it in inverted commas and say duty-free, because as a company, like I mentioned, we are required to pay duty. So the only institution in Zambia that can process and have any asset registered without duty is the Ministry of Works and Supply. Unfortunately, this is the only entity, not even ZRA, the taxman itself, can have a unit registered with a duty waiver. Unfortunately, that is not possible. This is the challenge that we've had, unfortunately. But like I said, we do give documentation that gives you evidence that this is indeed your unit. The registration on the vehicle is a private number plate. It is not GRZ marked. So no one will even know that this is a GRZ registered vehicle or that this vehicle is registered under Ministry of Works and Supply. It is a purely private number plate. We even have a few clients that came in and requested for personalized plates, and we have allowed a few of them. Of course, they have to meet the cost of that personalization, but this is the flexibility that comes with the product. But I understand what you're saying, and please get it from me. Much as you are paying for the vehicle, or be rest assured that you are paying for the vehicle, this is your vehicle, regardless of whether it is registered under the Ministry of Works and Supply. That ministry has no right to possess that vehicle at any point, to come and lay claim on that vehicle at all. They do not. The one thing I need to stress also is, much as the vehicles are registered under Works and Supply, any traffic infringements, any traffic offenses are or have to be borne by the client. So we are also mandated to provide that information to RATSA or law enforcement officers. If they come and say, who is the registered owner of this vehicle, we are mandated to provide that information. So please do not think that because it's a government vehicle, speed fines don't apply. No, they do.
All right, thank you. Is there a limit to how many vehicles one can get? Hello, Mr. Hambote, can you get me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, is there a limit to how many vehicles one can get? That's Dr. Chewe asking.
Yeah, so we are only allowed to finance one vehicle for any one applicant or joint application every 5 years. Or if that first vehicle has covered 150,000 kilometers and you have paid off your loan, then we can finance the second unit. So you can only access one vehicle every 5 years, to answer your question. This is also to encourage you to visit the villages. Most of us rarely go to the village.
Yeah. So are fish farming equipments also part of the scheme?
Yes, fish farming is part of the equipment. of the equipment that we offer. So your pond liners, we can do that. The aerators, we can finance those. The only things we don't finance under agro are inputs. So like your fish, your fingerlings, we will not finance those ones. We will not finance the feed. We will not finance the seed or fertilizer. But any tangible asset, we will be able to finance it. We even go to the extent of financing pumps, solar and electric pumps, including the pipes, the poly pipes, your tank. We can finance all of that.
Okay, great. So Dr. Ikram is asking if one pays for a car up front.
Are we together?
Hello, can you get me? Hello, Mr. Hambote. Did I just drop?
Yeah. Yes, I can.
Oh, sorry. I think my network is a bit unstable.
I can get you. No, I'm here. I can get you.
Okay. Yeah. If one pays for a car up front, does it stay under Ministry of Works for 5 years?
Like I've rightfully put it, the vehicle will still remain registered under the Ministry of Works and Supply.
Sorry, Mr. Hambote, I'm back. I think I had dropped off. My network was a bit unstable.
Yeah.
Okay. I think one other question was, do you have a deal
it
with...
actually says your bandwidth is very...
Yeah, sorry. One other question was, do you have a deal with Tata Zambia?
Yes, we do have a deal with Tata Zambia. We have a deal with Alliance Motors. We have a deal with Pilates, Vehicle Center for your Ford, even the Mustang, if that's what you wanted. It's there under Ford, Toyota Zambia, Honda, Action Auto, Yeti Motors, Renault, F1 Hazida. Yeah, all of those we have.
All right, nice. Another question from Dr. Chatupa is, any chance of the public service microfinance offering products for those building in the near future?
Yeah, in the very, very near future, actually, probably by the end of October, we should be announcing the launch of what we'll be calling the building material loan. We, of course, do have the mortgage product on our books, except that we are not offering it currently. Mortgages are not the easiest products to manage. They require a lot of capital for you to launch them or even manage them because of the nature of the product itself. And so we've tried to see how best we can have a product that meets the demand in terms of the building. And so we are developing a product called the building material loan. We are hoping to have it approved and launched by the end of October. And all such kind of products. Okay, I see a question here concerning specific electronics one can procure, e.g. laptops, tablets, and PlayStations. Doc, your network is very bad, eh?
Yeah, so I'm switching between CEC Liquid, MTN, and Airtel, but I hope now it's stable.
Yeah, so I was gonna take this question from Dr. Chikumbi.
Please go ahead.
Atama boasting, I like that. Yeah, so, well, there's no limit really on the type of electronics. Tablets, yes. Laptops, yes. PlayStation, I don't think so. It's more of a gaming device than one that you would use for work. So I really don't think PlayStation would fall under that classification. So, but anything else electronic related, it could be even a more advanced cell phone. We should be able to cover that one as well.
All right, nice one. I've got one question of my own. So you talked about the short-term cash solution, and you said the personal loan, there are too many lines. How, in terms of the demand for the short-term cash solution, is there also times when you're not paying out? Because I think the interest rate of 10% simple interest, which is not amortized, I think this is a really good product. So I just wanted to know the demand and if there's also some sort of long queue to get your hands on this short-term cash solution.
Yeah. No, at the moment we actually don't. Yes, from time to time, it might take a bit of time. But like, for instance, this last week or two, when the schools started reopening, we haven't experienced that much of a demand. I'm not too sure whether our public service workers were prepared. They had maybe probably already paid their fees. But normally we would experience such challenges when schools are opening, because that's when most people are looking for quick finance. But to be honest, we don't have any waiting lists or pending applications in excess of 7 days on the short-term loan.
Okay, all right. Yeah, thank you very much. So are there any last questions? We have 3 minutes to wind up from the other participants. I think most of the things have probably been covered. Thank you very much, Mr. Hambote. I'm sure, some of this knowledge we also didn't know. I was chatting with a friend of mine who just told me about these. I've seen Chanda Beverly has raised the hand. Dr. Chanda, please go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, thank you.
Yes, I just want to know, I'm interested in the gadgets. Which stores are those that are accredited where we can access the gadgets from?
Okay, currently we only have one, and this is Net1, Zambia Limited. They are offering products from the Dell brand of devices. They also have the HP brand. Basically, most of the brands that you can think of, they have them, but mainly they're looking at Dell and HP. I can share their contact as well with Dr. Moom.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. If there are no other issues, I guess I will share your contact with your permission, Mr. Hambote. I'm sure some people will be visiting your offices soon, to get access to these products that you've given us. So I think, so thank you very much for accepting the invitation. And I'm sure we will do a follow-up sometime in the near future to see when you upgrade and update the list of products as you continue to expand, even as you continue to expand and involve SIDAs and the others, so that they can also come on board. Sure. Yes. So absolutely. I don't know if you have any last remarks from your end.
Well, I just want to express my gratitude, firstly, for offering us this opportunity to discuss with you. I was quite disappointed as well when you called me and said most of you were not familiar with the institution. I did bring it to the attention of the CEO. He actually wanted to sit in this session as well, except when I called him a short while ago, before we started, he was nowhere near connectivity. However, he's very keen to engage with yourselves, as all of us are. I encourage all of you to consider coming through to us. The products that we have on offer are very flexible products. Our rates are very flexible. We are not as tough in terms of engagement of the clients as most of the public service workers are. I also want to just mention that you can visit our website as well, which is www.psmfc.co.zm. You will find quite a lot of information there. including calculators that would allow you to then simulate your monthly repayments based on the price of vehicle that you might want to procure. Please feel free to call on me. I'll ask Dr. Muma to share my contact and my email address. But if you're going to call me, please, I request that you call me between 7:30 and 16:30, Monday to Friday.
Noted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for taking us through this wonderful session. I think for now, I will end the meeting. And then if there will be any other questions that will come up, I think the doctors will engage you directly. So once again,
Sure.
Thank you very much from the Resident Doctors Association of Zambia. And we hope you have a pleasant rest of the evening as you prepare for tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.